Everybody, welcome back again. In this episode today, we're going to be talking about the 960 grid system. Now, in the last episode, we kind of talked about basic how grid systems are set up, how they work, and that a grid system typically is defined by this column layout structure. And the grid is not verbatim, literal on the page. The grid is an implied set of lines that are implied by the use of negative space. So again, you can see 960 is a framework we're going to talk about in a second. You can see that the grid is basically defined by this empty space, or this what typically designers refer to as negative space around items. If you don't have that negative space, you don't have that division, and therefore you don't have coherency in the design. Now, 960, and the website here is 960.gs, or for grid system. Actually, I'm sure it stands for something else, but, play along. And you can see here that we have a 3-column layout at the top that breaks down below that into a 2-column, which is pretty interesting. And then below that, you're going to see some screenshots of some websites that are set up using the 960 framework. And there's a reason that I showed them in the last example, because they all use 960. Now, what is 960 and what is a framework? Basically, a framework, in this case, 960 is an open source framework that you can download. It contains a set of templates. It contains CSS files and some HTML. And basically, this keeps you from having to reinvent the wheel every time you want to set up a grid system. And it's very nice. It's repurposable. And as you can see in the next episode when I show you how to use it, it's really fast and it saves you a ton of time. So if you go down here and you look at some of the screenshots that are here, each one of them has a little button here that says Show Grid. Now, 960 basically has the two main flavors of 960 are a 12-column layout and a 16-column layout. And you can see that you have your 12 columns here, and you can kind of see how they overlay on objects and everything fits in there. Now, if you're probably thinking, well, we defined this a minute ago as being a 3-column grid. Why would you need 12? Well, a good example of this would be something like this next one, where you have the Drupal website. And Drupal is another major framework for a content management system. And if I show the grid here, you can see what I'm talking about. This is a 12-column grid, but it enables you very easily. You probably wouldn't divide something into 12 columns for the most part, because especially if you have running text, that's going to be kind of tight to read it. However, if you divide those out and span things over 3 columns, it allows you to be able to switch. So you can see that they switch from a 3-column layout here, right down below it, to a 2-column layout, which is really pretty cool. We'll scroll down. You can see that a lot of the websites we talked about in the last example are here. The 5x5 website, I can show the grid. It all lines up. And even the wine website is on. Let me go down and find it. It is down towards the bottom here, which I think is very beautifully designed. The Black Estate Vineyard. If I show the grid here, you can see that it is very, it makes a lot of sense, and it's very obvious of where things fly. And so that is 960. And what I would do is, if you want to download this, you go up here to the top and click download, and it will do so. And I'll tell you what, if you watch the next movie here, I will show you how it's used.